It is time for another episode of the MLB Guardcast. I am Mike Vorhies. With me, as always, Bryan Shaw. Bryan, less than 28 or so hours, 29 hours, and we have real baseball.
Yes, but Guardians baseball is still 2 days away.
Guardians baseball is 2 days away. Thursday night at 10:10 in Seattle, Tanner Bybee versus Logan Gilbert at T-Mobile Park in Seattle. Bryan, today the Cleveland Guardians, their 26-man roster is officially announced. Any surprises?
Not really, given the injuries. I mean, when we had made our initial predictions, they were when we expected. Well, Rosie told us Hunter Gaddis was probably going to start on the injured list. I don't think we knew George Valera would. So,
Correct.
With that being the case, we didn't have CJ Kayfus on the roster, but with Valera out, I would say CJ Kayfus was the perfect right next man up, and I'm glad he's on the team. I don't think that is a huge drop-off by any means, and we'll see what happens from there.
All right, let's jump right into it. The team is going to carry not one, not two, but three catchers. Starting catcher, Bo Naylor. Backup catcher, Austin Hedges, whose hand, by the way, is fine. X-rays negative. He will be good to go. Dad bod, Austin Hedges will be ready to go for the season. And our third catcher, David Fry. I'm very excited as long as he can stay healthy. I think he's going to have a big season this year. Offensively, and even behind the plate in spring training, Bryan, he looked really good. I mean, throwing out runners, yes, he did throw a few into left field, but I think that'll happen from time to time. Even the greats make mistakes, but having him healthy, the elbow seems to not be an issue. He won't be in the outfield. We know Jim Rosenhaus told us that, and he won't even be at first base. So it'll be strictly
he said some first base.
Okay, so a little bit of first base, mostly DH catcher.
Yeah. He just hasn't done it much in spring so far, probably because he didn't need to as much. And also keep in mind, Bo was not with the team for a good portion of it, so they needed Fry to be catching.
Yep, absolutely. In the infield, 1 second here. I forgot to do something. No, there we go. In the infield for our Cleveland Guardians, obviously Jose Ramirez at third, Gabriel Arias at short, Brian Rocchio at second base, Kyle Manzardo, who will play first base, and DH Rhys Hoskins, who had his contract selected. I have not seen the corresponding 40-man move to add him yet, so I'm interested to see what that will be. And making the team as well, Daniel Schneemann, Mr. Utility. I like that. I like those infielders. I really do. I think that we're going to see Schneemann a lot. I have a feeling.
Yeah. Let's remember that Schneemann was a finalist for a Gold Glove last year for the utility role. So I liked his defense at second base. Earlier in the offseason, I think I had talked about I'd rather see Daniel Schneemann every day at second base and Rocchio at short over the current makeup of Arias and Rocchio. And then I had mentioned it to Jim Rosenhaus about, hey, shouldn't you leave Rocchio at short, Arias at second, Bazzana's going to come up at some point? And he's like, yeah, Rocchio's defense is good enough. He can make the move. But I personally, Arias has had a good spring. I'm going to give him that. But we've seen a lot of Arias over the last 3 years, and I just don't know if I believe in him. If he turns it around finally, wonderful. But just don't know if I believe in him.
You know what? That's the thing. We'll have to wait and see. I'm excited about Rhys Hoskins.
Yeah, he's looked really good.
If he can stay healthy, I mean, he already had 10 RBIs in the spring, couple of home runs. He's going to look really good in a Guardians uniform, batting fourth or fifth or wherever vote decides to put him. I cannot wait. And if he stays healthy, I will
Yeah,
go out on a limb and say
I
that
think
he's
this year's Mike Napoli. I mean, I think
yeah.
that veteran presence there, and I think he's going to be. He was desperately needed for to face versus lefties. So, I'm glad he's made the team. I'm glad he came around in the spring. There was a little bit of a slow start, but then he started hitting dingers and RBI machine. He says he's healthy. I don't know if you saw some of the interviews during the broadcast. He says he feels good. So, I think it's a great pickup. I can't believe we only got him for like $1.5 million. That's a steal. I mean, that is something to talk about too. But there was I sent you some article clippings from Terry Pluto.
You did
with management about the spend, and I don't want to get off on too much of a tangent of spend because we talk about that so much. But one interesting aspect of that was how much, specifically, it was a Mike Chernoff interview, how much they were lamenting the signing of Carlos Santana for the 12 or 13 million that it was, and that those at bats they felt like should have been given to CJ Kayfus instead.
I agree 100%. We saw that Carlos Santana was not the Carlos Santana of old. He struggled quite a bit, and I think that they're gun shy now because of how many bad signings that they have made, and they've come back to bite them. And I'm glad that I want to see this team as is. Yes, add Rhys Hoskins. He could potentially hit you 25 to 30 home runs in a full season if he's healthy. In this lineup, I think he can. Well, however,
part of it
CJ Kayfus. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say part of it is that I think like signing Hoskins, it wasn't for 12 million. Like that doesn't hinder you.
Right.
It's $1.5 million. Same thing with Nolan Jones. They gave Nolan Jones 2 million, but that's 2 million, and he doesn't make the club. Like it's not that big a deal. If they had to cut Rhys Hoskins, or if they do mid-season, like that doesn't hinder you. Same thing with I'm blanking on his name, the catcher from a couple of years ago.
Oh, Mike Zunino.
Yes, thank you, Zunino. That was only $4 million. Like that wasn't that big a deal. But Josh Bell was a little more of a bigger deal. Like they had to get rid of that in a trade. And so that is it was interesting because we were discussing that with like our group, and we were discussing that, and they were like, well, of course these guys failed because you're shopping in the bargain basement. Well, but like Josh Bell wasn't a bargain basement guy. Like that was some big money that you were investing in him. He just completely fizzled. And same thing with Santana. Santana had a good year the year before. I just don't think they anticipated the drop off. Now, that was the going rate for first baseman at the time. But what's interesting about that is I'm sure that you could find clips of us calling for Kayfus to be called up much, much sooner than he was. So it's interesting that in hindsight, they're lamenting that, but like, why didn't they make the move sooner then?
Yeah, I don't know. I think they just didn't want to admit defeat. They didn't want to have to stick their tail between their legs and go, yeah, signing him was a bad, we're going to get we're going to take some off the chin here because you got rid of Josh Naylor. You bring in Carlos Santana hoping to get similar offensive output, and you got nothing close. You just
didn't. So I already mentioned Kayfus making the outfield. Why don't you wrap up the rest of the outfield?
Well, hold on real quick. Good evening, guys. I'll not say anything like what I said during the Friday show. I'm a little confused. I know that you were a special guest on the Lake Erie Lounge with Brian and Fatty on Friday. I was supposed to attend as well, and I was unfortunately under the weather. I will be making an appearance this Friday on the Lake Erie Lounge. So yeah, it was nice to see you there hanging out with them, Brian. I think it was
a lot of fun. We had a good time.
You guys were having a lot of fun when I was tuning in and getting a listen. In the outfield for our Guardians, Stephen Kwan will be in center field. Yes, I said center field. not left field, center field. In right field, Chase DeLauder. And can I just take 2 seconds and say, man, what a game he had last night. Not one, but 2 home runs. If he can play in 140 games and produce like that, I'm over the moon.
I don't even know if they'll try for 140. I would say 120.
I'll be okay with that too.
Yeah, but even so, I think his impact is going to be huge. If you haven't yet, go onto the Guardians Twitter account or Facebook account or whatever, and just listen to that hit. Listen to that home run.
Oh, it sounded so good.
And
he got all of it.
It looks effortless out of him, doesn't it? Like sometimes when these guys swing, you know, you can tell that they're swinging out of their shoes. Josh Naylor would do that. You know, you could be like, okay, he was swinging for the fences, and he'd almost fall over if he missed and things like that. But DeLauder just looks effortless.
He does, and now I can kind of see. I got to see him hit his first home run in Double-A when he was with Akron, and there's something special about him. And I got a chance to interview him on the field at Akron Rubber Ducks Media Day. Very, very respected, humble kid, and I'm excited if he can stay healthy. What he can do for this team, the ceiling is so incredibly high for him.
Yeah, he really lengthens the lineup.
I feel like he had the best spring of any Guardian right now, and that is Angel Martinez. I think he will be in left field. I think he will be starting in left game 1 against Seattle. And then CJ Kayfus will be the 4th outfielder. He makes the team, obviously, with George Valera being injured. They said Valera's close. I imagine in a week or so, we're going to be having another conversation as to who goes down and what happens, because Valera is going to make the team. And if Kayfus is off to a great start, do you send him down?
I don't know. That's the thing is who do you send down in that situation? Like, does Kayfus already know that he's the guy? Because how much, let's say it's 2 weeks. How much can you take off of the 2 weeks of March and early April, especially when 2 of those series are against, you know, Seattle and the Dodgers?
Right.
Like that's it. I mean, it's not a great sample size for baseball. So that's a tough spot for them. It's a really tough spot.
And we know that there's several Guardians who are going to take some time to get warm. So March is a couple days. April, probably. I would think May is going to be a good sign as to where we are looking, where we're trending.
Well, if spring training is any sign, these guys are warm and ready. I mean, the last couple of days, even today, what, another 6 runs against Arizona?
Brian Rocchio with a 2-run home run. I saw that. And then I was on the air on another sports talk show, so I didn't get to see the rest of the game, but I saw that we won yet again. So kudos to the Guardians. Love that you finished spring with back-to-back wins. We'll take it. I think Schneemann and Kayfus are probably going to be the 2 that they look at. I really do. Because the only thing I think for Kayfus is sending him down to AAA so he plays every day.
Sure. Schneemann, I say probably not, just because of his versatility. He can play outfield. He can play third base. He can play center field. He can play second base. Like, he's all over. You know, they talked about Arias being able to play all over as well, but we didn't see that as much in the spring. And you know, maybe he'll play some right field here and there, but you know, we'll see. All right.
It won't be Rhys Hoskins. All right. Our starting pitchers. Obviously, Tanner Bybee gets the nod in game 1. He is the ace, the quote unquote ace of the staff. 1A, 1B would be Gavin Williams. Big Rig will start game number 2. Slade Ciccone gets the start in game number 3. Joey Cantillo makes the roster as our 4th starter. And rounding out the starting pitching, beating out Logan Allen, Parker Messick will be our 5th starter. Parker started today, looked really good. I'm excited. I think we have 5 very quality starters. I think Bybee and Williams are going to have very good seasons. Do not sleep on Slade Ciccone. We know that what Joey Cantillo can do in the postseason. He pitched his tail off and looked really good. And Parker Messick didn't make the team just because. He beat out Logan Allen. He has pitched well. He's been a prospect of ours for a while. I'm excited. Brian, any surprises there for you?
So I had been pegging Messick to be the 5th starter for a while. Like, we have texts on that. I don't dislike Logan Allen, but it was really weird that I thought, like, all the reporters were saying that this was going to be Logan Allen. I think Logan Allen will be up, clearly. Like, they're going to need more than 5 starters this season. They always do. But I think probably the World Baseball Classic probably hurt Logan Allen a little bit. He wasn't in camp. That didn't have like the normal ramp up that you would. So I think it makes sense to send him to AAA and iron that out. And he's the next man up when it comes to the rotation. So if anybody gets a blister or, a little bit of fatigue here and there, then he's going to be the next guy up. And I'd say their concern, if there is for the season, is after that, you don't have a lot of starting depth. It does get a little thin after that. Like, if 2 guys go down, who's the 7th starter? Are you tapping like Colby Allard to make a spot start for you?
Kobe Allard would be a guy. He did not make the team, so he will be at AAA. Pedro Avila will be joining him in AAA. We know that Avila can give you 2 to 3 innings. Kobe Allard was about the same, Kobe Allard was about the same, about 3-4 innings. Made a few spot starts where I think he went 5 at the most. So yeah, he's an option. I mean, I have to look at the team as a whole. I haven't paid too much attention to who's in AAA as of yet. A lot of the guys, I don't know who else is in our rotation, and that's going to make me look bad. But he would be another one that would come up. I know he got rocked in spring training. Logan Allen on his last start got absolutely shelled. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see. I know that we've got Daniel Espino, but there's no shot of him coming up and starting
not early
unless there's a catastrophe in our rotation. But that's okay. I like our starting rotation. Knock on wood. I know where's the his name, Kale Stevens. We got him in the Shane Bieber deal. Is he at AA or AAA? I wonder. I think he'll be at AAA. That's right. I peg him.
Yeah.
So he's a guy that we could look at too at some point. I know that they're very high on him. In the bullpen, this is where I think things get interesting. Here's our bullpen. Obviously, our closer, Cade Smith. I have him pegged as the reliever of the year. I think he is going to show why he is a dominant pitcher. Last year, he was worried about who coming back and what was going on and kind of being thrust into the closing role. Now he knows he's the guy. He's not worried, not looking over his shoulder. He knows that the 9th inning belongs to him. Now, flanking him in the bullpen, here's where it gets fun. MLB journeyman Sean Armstrong, former Cleveland Indian, was with the Baltimore Orioles, was with the Tampa Bay Rays. I think he's been with a couple of ball clubs. He pitched very well in the spring. He pitched very well last year. Eric Sabrowski, the left-hander, obviously he had a great season last year. Tim Herron is back as well, so 2 lefties in the bullpen. Bryan Shaw's favorite reliever, Matt Festa, will be joining us as well. Connor Brockton,
ironically, hang on.
Yeah.
One note on Festa.
All right, one note on Festa.
So I had a soft spot for Bryan Shaw. Clearly.
Right, you did.
He kind of, we know that, was not well liked amongst the fan base as much as I appreciated him.
Okay.
Matt Festa is the current team's Bryan Shaw.
Okay.
He's overused. He has a
decent season. Oh my gosh, is he overused?
He's overused. Most people are annoyed by him, but there's a place for that guy that comes in and can eat up some innings. I mean,
Every manager has that innings eater guy that they always can call on him and get him out there. And Matt Festa is our guy. Connor Brogdon brought over, signed in the offseason, pitched for the Angels last year. Brian, what are your thoughts on Connor Brogdon? I don't know a lot about him, but in the spring he looked pretty good.
Yeah, he looked all right. I mean, I know that there was talk about like working on some of his mechanics, and that's the thing with a lot of these guys is that we create gems all the time. We talked about this with Rosie. They add pitches, they work on like tunneling pitches, what pitches work off of other pitches. He is one of those guys that the Guardians have a type, and that type is guys with extension. He is 6'6", so super tall, and he has a 92 percentile in extension. When you look at all these guys that they bring in, like at the AAA level, or quote off the scrap heap for like $1 million, $1.5 million, they always have this good extension, and he's another one of those guys. I would not be surprised at all if he is someone that, like, yes, you don't necessarily know his name right now, but he turns into a gem for you. Similar to a Pedro Avila, the Colby Allards, like just these guys that they bring in that were journeymen and not that good. And then all of a sudden we sprinkle our little fairy dust on them and they turn into, under 3 ERA relievers.
Yeah. They turn into Phil Maton. No one really knew who he was.
Actually, did he do better after he left? I never liked
Phil think Maton. He did. He did better after he left Cleveland. But so joining Connor Brogdon, Colin Holderman, the former Pittsburgh Pirate, joined the Guardians in the offseason on a minor league deal, had a great spring. He will join the club in Hunter Gaddis's absence. Hunter will start the season on the injured list. And then the final man in our bullpen, who I think everybody needs to learn his name right now, and that is Peyton Pallette. Rule 5 pick that we got from the Chicago White Sox. We talked about him with Jim Rosenhaus not once but twice. He said that to watch out for him. He's had a dynamite spring, has looked really good. Obviously, the Guardians liked what they saw because they added him to the roster. They didn't have to send him back to Chicago. So what do we know about him? What do we know about him, Brian? Is he somebody that could be that potential Matt Festa type where we can call on him and he can be of good use to us?
Yeah, he was a guy, Rosie had mentioned him, that they really, really like his stuff. He's not someone that we've gotten like a ton of look at in the past because that's the way the Rule 5 is. He was in the minors, so he hasn't made his major league debut yet. He was on the minors. He wasn't on their 40-man. We were able to pluck him. But yeah, if you got an opportunity, I clipped it as well, just that little clip, because when we were talking about the bullpen, we had said, okay, there's 2 open spots or 1 open spot. Who's it going to go to? Is it going to go to Holderman or Pallette? And Rosie said it's going to Pallette. Now, again, at the time, we were assuming that Hunter Gaddis was not going to be injured. Right. And so then I think what happens here is this is an easy move when Hunter Gaddis comes back, because he's already throwing bullpens, is Holderman probably will go down. So there's a chance, like, does he even get used at any point? Maybe in a blowout situation or something like that. But he has options, so they won't have to cut anybody. And the way the Rule 5 works is Pallette is going to have to be on the roster for the entire season. Otherwise, we got to give him back. So, right. And Rosie said that they love this guy. That it's another one where they identified something that they liked about him, and they felt like they can mold him. Similar to Slade Ciccone trade. Slade Ciccone wasn't considered like a great prospect.
He had a 6.66 ERA when we got him.
And there's just things that they can identify about these guys, and they turn them into good players. So
Well,
this could be another one of those situations. And I'm not saying he's going to be Cade Smith, but like remember that when Cade Smith made the team out of spring 2 years ago, he was another guy that like, well, we didn't really know anything about him, and then all of a sudden he just lit the world on fire. So, just because you don't know a guy's name all the time doesn't mean that they're not going to contribute.
no, absolutely, and it'll be interesting. I know that the bullpen was an area of concern. At least it was for me. We saw the overuse from last year. Cade Smith, Hunter Gaddis, Matt Festa, to name a few. Tim Herron. Like we saw these guys get used a bunch. I don't think that's going to be the issue this year. I don't. I think that our starters with Bybee and Williams and Ciccone, Cantillo, and Parker Messick, I feel like if they can give us 5 to 6 innings to start, now obviously there's going to be the one-offs that they can't get out of the fifth or I get that. I'm just hoping that we don't see where Matt Festa is pitching in 101 games or whatever it was last year with some crazy stat, how many games he pitched in. So the Guardians kind of threw a little bit of money at the bullpen. Yes, they didn't set the world on fire. They didn't go and spend $30 million on a reliever. I think Sean Armstrong got $5.5 million. Holderman, I think, is $1.5 million. Brogdon, I think, is $1.25. So again,
Yeah,
we're going
it
to
was
see
similar money to what they gave.
Mhm.
Similar money to what they gave to like Jacob Junis.
Right. And
You know,
Junis had an amazing
so
season for us last year. Yeah, it'll be interesting. I know that we're gonna get into our predictions, Brian. I feel confident about this team, especially after what they did last year. I'm still kind of riding that high, down 15 and a half games to the Detroit Tigers, and we take the division. So
yeah,
I'm
that
still
was a
riding
lot of
that
fun.
high, and until they prove me wrong, you know me, I'm going to think very highly of these guys.
A couple of things I want to point out about that. I didn't remember this until yesterday when the Arizona Diamondbacks broadcast brought it up. The Guardians had the best record in baseball after the All-Star break.
I do remember hearing that statistic, and that puts a smile on
And
my face.
and I want to point out that in the month of September, during this run, especially in September, they went from what was most of the season as a bottom 5 offensive team to up to 14th. A huge jump to go
Mhm.
from there, to there. So they were 14th in the league in offense. So there was like that was a big part of it. Like when you had the pitching that you had, and you finally had some offense that was starting to produce after what was a big struggle. Because remember before that, like there was what was it in July? They had lost a ton in a row and were getting shut out or one
Ugh,
run almost every single
yeah.
game, and they completely turned that around. So that I hope that kind of momentum goes into this next season, and I think is a big reason why they said we want to see more of CJ Kafis and Angel Martinez and Daniel Schneemann and Brian Rocchio and like those kinds of guys that you hope to expect to continue to build off of that September and go into the season.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, you look at Kyle Manzardo added muscle this year. What, 15 pounds of muscle he added. Angel Martinez looks stronger, faster, better than he has. So uh, they've obviously tried to do what they could to improve themselves, and those are just two people. But we know that Hosey is going to be Hosey, and this offense is basically going to go where he goes. We're going to need Stephen Kwan to be at his best. He wasn't at his best last year. I don't know if it was the injury to his wrist or just him trying to press. I don't know what it was, but now he doesn't have to try as hard. Like we just need him to get on base and be that Stephen Kwan that we know he can be. And I'm very confident with this offense. I really am.
Yeah, I think it looks a lot better, to be honest. I know that that's tough to say, but like let's just go through I'm going to go through an exercise with you as we lead into the prediction for
Oh
what we
boy.
expect of the
Okay.
season.
I didn't
So
study. I didn't
you
study.
don't have to study.
Okay. Well, that's good.
I'll give you what you need to make an
Okay.
educated answer.
You're going to feed me. Got it. That's what I like.
So we're going to start with Stephen Kwan.
Okay.
Over or under a 705 OPS, or I think it was a 99 WRC plus. Over or under that mark?
Over.
Yeah, I mean, that was one of his worst seasons. I don't see how he doesn't improve on that. I think that's an easy over for me.
Yeah.
Now I think these will get a little bit tougher, but let's go with Bo Naylor, over or under a 660 OPS.
I think he's going to go over, but not by much. I think that we're going to see Bo Naylor improve offensively. I think that we saw what he can do in the World Baseball Classic. I think that he showed himself last year with the Guardians towards the end of the season. He started to kind of come around without his brother being here now for a full season. I think he'll 680, 690, I think is where he's going to be.
Well, that'll be closer to league average, which would be nice. I mean, that would bump him to probably like a 95 WRC plus, which would be solid. An improvement of last year. I'm going to go a different route. I'm not going to go OPS on this one. Gabriel Arias, over or under a 34% strikeout rate?
Over. He's the guy that he swings at stuff that he shouldn't swing at. And he swings at pitches that are in the other batter's box. He tries way too hard at times, and I think that he presses because he knows that he's talented, and he's one of those people that tries too hard. I have a feeling that number is unfortunately going to go up, but I think there's going to be other guys in the lineup that kind of bail him out.
Well, let's go there. If that's the case, Arias is having a bad season, because that was a strikeout rate last year. He had a 638 OPS, not good. And if his strikeout rate goes up and is the highest on the team, which it was close last year, just behind Will Wilson and just ahead of John Kenzie Noel, he's probably off the team.
Neither one is with the Guardians anymore.
Yeah. He's probably off the team, and we're probably seeing Travis Bazzana.
We are. That's what I was getting ready to say. If Arias struggles, the Guardians are going to pull the trigger, and they're going to move Brian Rocchio to short, and they're going to call up Travis Bazzana, and the city is going to go crazy, just like they did when the Guardians called up Francisco Lindor, and everybody was so high on him. We are very high on Bazzana. There are so many fans that are frustrated that he didn't make the opening roster. There's a reason for it, folks. He has to prove that he can stay healthy and be productive. Yes, there was a game the other day where he hit a grand slam and he hit another home run. In the World Baseball Classic, he hit a home run. We know that the talent is there. They drafted him number 1 for a reason. He'll be here. If he's not here before the All-Star break, I'll be shocked.
Keep in mind, I'm going to pull up the exact number. I think he only had, no, that's not it. Yeah, 26 games in AAA last year. So you want him to have a little bit more. So right. I don't have a huge problem with Bazzana starting off in AAA. I know they want to get another look at Arias, and so be it. I mean, but I think he's the first one to go down. And whether
he wouldn't go down, he'd be DFA.
He's
out of options.
Okay.
Yep, he has no options.
Well, then another reason why he made the team, because he's out of options, and so they would move on from him. This is his last chance, in my opinion. All right, I'm going to bucket these two guys together just because both of their OPSs were close last year. Brian Rocchio and Angel Martinez, over or under a 630 OPS?
Over. Angel Martinez had a phenomenal spring, and I think that we are going to see some very cool things from him this year. He's not going to hit 30 home runs, but he's going to get on base. Being a switch hitter, I love that he made this team. He is a utility knife and can play anywhere. And playoff Rocchio is a thing. He did really well. I know that even Team Italy got Brian Rocchio to come and play in a game because they wanted to see if they could get playoff Rocchio. They didn't. It's okay. The Guardians have him. And I think that Brian knows that he's safe, knowing that if Arias struggles, it's okay. He'll slide to short and Bazana comes up or Burrito or Schneeman, whoever they slide in second is fine. I see the two of them having a better season than they had last year.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, we're going to go down, slide down, because we did talk about him a little bit at catcher. David Fry, over or under a 592 OPS?
Over, because he was hurt all of last season. We know he wasn't healthy. We know the elbow bothered him. He couldn't do hardly anything. He couldn't catch. He could play first base. He could DH. He could pinch hit. And that was it. You knew that he was injured. He's healthy. I think he's going to have the season he had where he was an all-star. I don't think he'll be an all-star this year, but I think he's going to have a season similar to when he was named an all-star.
Yeah. I think you'll see huge improvement from him. I want to keep in mind, like, all these stats that we are mentioning are pretty bad. Like, that's why the Guardians were a bad offense. And so we don't expect all these guys to continue to be bad, other than Arias, who we mentioned. But a lot of it was pretty bad.
And you know what? I will gladly eat a plate of dirt if Gabriel Arias is hitting 240 and has a slugging percentage of 680. If he's having a decent season, I will be one of the first people to admit I was wrong.
Yeah, except we've been saying that to ourselves for a long time, and it just hasn't come to fruition. It's not.
But
like
I know that this is his last chance because Travis is ready. So it's only a matter of time.
Let's be clear about something. We're not rooting against Arias. We want him to be great. It's just we don't believe that he will, because we've seen it for a while. All right. I think this one's a little tougher. Kyle Manzardo, over or under a 770 OPS?
He added 15 pounds of muscle. He's looked okay this spring. When he's made contact, it's looked really good. I think he is going to stay about the same.
Okay, that's fair.
I think he is going to stay the same. Having Rhys Hoskins, having CJ Kafis, having those guys around, I don't necessarily think he's going to get as many at-bats as people think, unless he shows that he can produce like he did last year when he hit 25 home runs.
Yeah. All right. I'm taking now. So those are all the guys that are basically coming back, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now I'm going to take two players that we had last year's stats and replace them with new guys.
Okay.
So Rhys Hoskins, over or under an 87 WRC plus. Keep in mind that 100 is average, and then so 87 is 13% below average.
I think he's going to be above that. I think that as long as he stays healthy, what we've seen this spring, I think that being here in Cleveland has given him a new lease on life a little bit. The Guardians believe in him. That's why we brought him on. We selected his contract. He's going to be playing with Jose Ramirez and Steven Kwan. And I think he's going to learn a thing or two about a thing or two. And if he could stay healthy, I see Rhys Hoskins having a very good season here.
I want to point out that Rhys Hoskins has not once in his career, even during his injury seasons of the past couple of years, he was not a below average hitter.
Yeah.
So for him to be that means he's either injured again or he's just now fallen off. But I would say that we are going to see improvement in that spot. All right, here's the big one. And I'm debating where I want to go with this.
Okay.
I think I'm going to go on the higher side.
Okay.
Actually, you know what? We'll two-tier it. We'll do it both.
Okay. I like it. I like it.
Chase DeLauder, over or under a 480 OPS.
Oh, it's got to be over. That's got to be over. I mean, look at the spring this kid has had. If he stays healthy and he's getting regular at bats, he's going to be in the 600 and 700 category.
Okay. So then over or under a 626 OPS for Chase DeLauder.
I think 626 is pretty good for him based on if he can
No.
stay healthy. You think it'll be higher?
I Chase DeLauder better be in the upper 70s or low 800s.
Okay.
Like 715 is average.
Okay.
Chase DeLauder is going to.
I'm going to tread lightly with him because I want him to be healthy. And like we talked about a little bit earlier, you had said about 120 games is kind of what you guess he'll play as long as he's healthy.
I hope so. Yes.
I hope so as well. Do I think he will? I don't know. That's why I'm going to give him an incomplete here because I've got to see him play regularly. I want to see him stay healthy. Ask me this again at the end, about mid-April, and I'll be able to answer the question.
Yeah, but his OPS, his on base plus slugging, is going to be irrelevant to his playing time, and if he's injured, I feel like the guy could.
Spring OPS. Do we know?
It was high. It was over
1,000. I can look
pretty
it up
sure.
Well, if it was over 1,000, then I'm okay with that. By the way, the Guardians win today 10-5 over the Arizona Diamondbacks.
All right.
That game just went final. Yeah. That game just went final a little bit ago. 7. I'll give him 770. That'll be my final answer for Chase.
Now, I will. Great. Actually, it's a perfect answer because that is pretty much spot on with what Manzardo had last year. And now we do expect other players to be better. But a 770 OPS would have been second on this team last year. And I want to point out, so we had mentioned all these guys that we expect to be better, so on and so forth. The Rhys Hoskins replaces Santana in that equation that I brought up in the over-unders. Chase DeLauder replaces John Kenzie Noel and Jonathan Rodriguez.
I wouldn't have to. Equation. He's not going to have to do much to pass those two.
But that's what I mean in terms of like where this offense is improving and where we're going to see improvement. We pretty much said we think almost every player on the offense is going to have a better season than they did last year. And then the two main replacements, because we didn't see DeLauder into the playoffs, so having him for the full season, he's essentially a replacement. And then Rhys Hoskins, we expect it to be better than Santana. So I do expect the offense to just be a lot better overall this year. And that's why we are excited, because we've been seeing DeLauder. I want to move on to the pitching staff now, because we're going to continue this little exercise. Tanner Bybee, over or under a 4.24 ERA?
It's got to be better. There were some rough starts for Tanner Bybee.
Yeah.
I think I see him around a 380 to a 390 earn run average this year. Okay. That's kind of where I have him pegged. I think, will he finish the season as our number one starter? I don't believe so. I think he'll be our number two starter by the time the season's over.
So we'll move on. We'll move on to another guy. I'm not going to go with ERA here because Gavin Williams had a 3 ERA last year, which was very good. But Gavin Williams, over or under 12 wins?
I got to put him over. Gavin Williams is my dark horse for the American League Cy Young Award. I am expecting him to have a much better season than he had last year. And last year's season was great. I think he's going to have more strikeouts. I think he's going to have more wins. I think he's going to walk less people than he did last year. I think his command is going to be better. Again, I see him being a finalist for the American League Cy Young Award.
I like that. All right. We'll move on to probably who the fella that your third starter will be. Slade Ciccone, over or under 4.3 ERA?
I'm hoping it's going to be lower, but I think he's going to stay about the same. I think
Okay.
that if he can have an average season, as long as his earn run average doesn't go above 4, I would be extremely happy. Give me 10-ish wins, 10 to 12 wins, and I would be over the moon for Slade Ciccone.
Yeah. And so average was last year was like I think just at about 4 ERA.
Okay.
Like probably about a 4.1 was average last year. So if
I
he's,
would
a
take that.
couple of ticks lower, you're saying you're good with that. Okay.
Yep.
All right, I'm gonna go again a different route here. We're gonna go Joey Cantillo over or under 120 innings. Do you want his last year's mark?
Yeah. How many innings did he pitch last year?
He pitched 95 innings last year.
He's going over then. He's going to go over because he's looked really, really good. I know that the Guardians used him a lot in different roles last year out of the bullpen. He was a long reliever. He started. I think he will get to about 100. I'm going to peg him for about 130 innings.
Okay. And that's a tough ask. So we won't go there either. What do I want to do here? Ooh, all right. I got a good one. Parker Messick.
Okay.
Over or under a 1.3 whip?
1.3 whip would be phenomenal. I'd be okay with that.
I will tell you that Bybee and Williams were both at 1.2. Luis Ortiz was a 1.3. Logan Allen was a 1.3.
I think Messick then could be a 1.3. I really do. I think I would like him to be better than a 1.3, but I will my fifth starter, a 1.3 whip. I'm totally okay with that.
All right. Cade Smith, over or under 40 saves?
Cade Smith, like I said earlier, is going to be my reliever of the year. I see him with about 50 saves. I just do. There's something about Cade Smith that I really, really like. If Hunter Gaddis is healthy and he's in front of Cade Smith, I love the back end of our bullpen. I really do. Cade Smith, about 50 saves for him this year.
Okay. Tim Herron, who had a really good year 2 seasons ago. He was part of that very strong bullpen. Over or under a 4.8 ERA, which is what he had last year.
It's got to be lower. It's got to be lower than a 4.8. He is somebody that the Guardians are going to depend on, one of 2 left-handed relievers out of that pen. Between him and Sobrowski, they've got to be about, I would say, a 3.9 or a 4 ERA. I'm not asking for Herron to go out and pitch like a 1 or 1.5 or even a 2. I'll take those all day long, but I'm realistic.
I will say the ERA for relievers, Herron was the worst at a 4.8. Colby Allard had 2.6.
He won't be. What was Sobrowski last year?
1.8.
Okay. Tim Herron's going to give us a 3.1. There you go. That's what I'm going to call right now.
All right. I'm going to do the same thing I did with Sean Armstrong. So he's going to be a replacement for, we'll say, a key guy. Okay. Well, somebody who we thought was going to be a key guy. I'll say that. Sean Armstrong, over or under a 4.7 ERA?
Lower. He's going to be about a 4.2. I think Sean is going to be a very good addition to this bullpen. I think I will compare him to what Jacob Junis did for us last year.
Okay.
I don't think that
Junis was a 2.9, by the way.
Junis was a 2.9. He had a phenomenal season, but again, I'm realistic. I think Sean Armstrong could have a pretty good season in this bullpen as long as he is not overused.
Mm-hmm. So the ERA I was comparing him to was Paul Sewald's. Paul Sewald had a 4.7, and I'd say he's somewhere in between because he's the replacement wise. So I mean, we have a little more turnover for the bullpen here, so it's tough to say like, okay, well, who do you compare like a Connor Brogdon to or a Peyton Pallette to, like so. But overall, I mean, in Sabrowski did have he did miss a lot of the season. He only had 33 games last year. So, are you going to see a little bit more of him? I don't expect him to have a 1.8 ERA like he did last year. So there is going to be some up and down, some volatility there. But more or less, we had talked about the starting rotation being better overall. Actually, we're going to do this as a whole. I want to talk about one other aspect, and then you'll have to give me a second on one other part. Do you expect the outfield as an entirety to be the second worst offensive outfield in Major League Baseball?
No, I don't. I think that Kwan is going to have a better season. I think that DeLauder, if he's healthy, is going to have a better season. Valera, Martinez. It can't be as bad as last year. I'm going to try to stay positive. They have to be better than last year.
And then to piggyback off of that, the Guardians starting pitching. Wow, it was really that good?
Starting pitching wasn't terrible last year.
Oh, hang on. It didn't take. The entirety of the team was fourth. Okay. So, team starting pitching, which ended up as 10th, over or under for 3.8 ERA as a team.
Same.
Starting pitching.
I would be ecstatic if we finished as the 10th best starting pitching in the league. I would be.
So it's interesting you say that because you talked about you expect Bybee to have a better season. You expect Gavin to have a really good season. We expect Slade Ciccone to have a similar season. I would expect Messick to be better than Luis Ortiz, Joey Cantillo to be similar to Joey Cantillo. So where do you see that they're going to be similar to last year then? If that's the case, if we expect all these guys to improve a little bit more.
So I'm good with them being 10th overall. I would hope that the stats are better than what they were last year.
Mm-hmm.
I think that there's going to be some really good pitching throughout baseball this year. I think that some teams are going to have very good rotations. If the Cleveland Guardians at the end of the season can have a team earn run average under 4, I am over the moon, because to me that's a success.
All right.
Giving up
especially
less
with the improved offense.
Right. If you can give up 4 runs a game, I'm all for it.
So, all that being said, what is your prediction for the season?
I see the Cleveland Guardians.
You don't have to give. Just give me regular season.
I see them finishing second in the division. I think the Detroit Tigers will be the division champions, and I hate to say it, but they're going to be a very good team. Cleveland Guardians, 88 wins, second place.
So the exact same win total as last year.
I have them at 88 wins. I know that Vegas had them at 76, and I think Vegas is smoking crack. So I think that I have faith in this Guardians team. I really think 88 wins would be, especially seeing how bad things were last year offensively. Give me 88 wins and a great offense. I don't think we lose to Detroit by much. I think Detroit has about 92 wins, 93 is kind of where I have them pegged at. So if we finish 5 games back, it's better than 15.
So you didn't say this though, and granted, there's other factors here. 87 wins was enough for a wild card last year. Is 88 wins enough for a wild card this year?
I believe so. I think that in the East, I think it's going to be a two pony race between Boston and New York and Toronto. Well, three. I forgot Toronto. Boston, New York, and
Toronto's
Toronto.
gonna be good.
I think Baltimore could be a dark horse, having Pete Alonso and that team could look really good. Tampa Bay, probably not. They're still rebuilding. In the West, it's going to be Seattle. Houston's going to try to make a run, but I just don't think they have enough. The A's could be a team to watch out for.
I'd say they should be happy with 500.
I think the
Like, make
A's
that
could
leap.
be
Yeah.
in. I'm going to go a little further, and I'm going to say
Okay.
that the A's are going to be in contention for a wild card spot.
So, all right, my prediction is similar. I'm doing this. I'm making the same prediction I did last year and the year before, and it's worked out so far. So I'm going to keep doing it. I think Detroit is going to win the division. I predicted the last 2 years. I think the Guardians are going to finish second. I think they'll be a wild card. However, I think both teams are going to have better records. I don't think 88 wins the division this year. I have Detroit more at like 96 wins. And I think Cleveland will be a little bit better at around 92 wins.
Oh, wow. Okay. I like it. Hey, we're in the playoffs. That's where you're putting us. And I want another run. Let's make this 2016 all over again. I'm all for it. It was 10 years ago when the Guardians made the World Series.
I think it is. I think there's a lot of pieces that could come together. I just love what I'm seeing out of DeLauder right now. I think that when you look at the lineup, it's really bizarre to say this. I understand the way that this team was last year. But when you look at the lineup, when you add Travis Bazzana to it and what his potential is, you're actually looking at that and you're like, oh wow, they're like 7 deep now of guys that you would really trust. And then add to the potential development of Angel Martinez, and if George Valera can come back and show you a lot of what he showed you last year, because we didn't really talk about George Valera. And I want to point out that in his short time with the team, he had a 750 OPS at the end of last year. So he's another guy that you expect to be a power guy. And before he did hurt his calf or his hamstring or whatever it was, he was having a really good spring as well. So hopefully he can take that momentum that he had last year into this year. But again, he's another guy that you're saying, okay, you say, he had a 750 OPS last year. If that 750 OPS last year replaces Jonathan Rodriguez's 620, like, this offense is that much better. And that's why we're making these comparisons. You're taking these guys that were fairly useless for you, and you're replacing them with young players that have a lot of potential. And I know we've talked a lot about potential with this team for a long time, but I do think DeLauder and Valera and Kefis and Bazzana are a different breed. I think that this isn't your Gabriel Arias. This isn't your Bobby Bradley's. This isn't your Oscar Mercados. This isn't, like all those slew of guys that we've just kind of churned through. Like, this isn't your John Kenzie Noels, like, that were flashes in the pan. And
you can even throw SpongeBob in there.
Right.
Oscar Gonzalez as well. Yep. These guys, the Guardians drafted Bazzana number 1 because he's that good. Chase DeLauder is going to be good. If he can stay healthy, he's going to be very good. Same with Valera. These guys know that they're no longer looking over their shoulder. They're not worried that the team's going to go out and sign a veteran to take their playing time. They know that it's on them. And I'm sure that they're itching and raring to go, and they know that these games are going to start counting after tomorrow. Thursday night, 10-10 in Seattle. I think that Seattle series is going to be great. I do. I think the series against the Dodgers is going to be great. This team has looked really good in the spring, and if they can carry it from spring into the first half of the season, and you can rattle off a couple of wins and get your confidence going and the pitching's doing well, again, the sky is the limit for this team.
I will say, I mean, they drew a tough straw to start the season. I made a prediction on social media, and this was just kind of like a trends prediction. It's more of a joke, like it's not super realistic, but it kind of is because it's the same thing that happens every year. I said they're going to start 2-5 because they're playing Seattle and the Dodgers, and the Seattle series is a 4-game series, and then the Dodgers game is a 3-game series. So it's like it's very feasible that they start off 2-5 and actually not be bad. Like
I'm gonna go 4-3.
That'd be great, but that wasn't really the point of what I was.
I know. I get they're gonna have a tough start.
But what I'm saying is, what happens is, and what happens every year is they start off slow, they start off poor. Like remember last year the Padres series and how bad that was, and that was like the second series of the year. So same thing.
Yeah, it was.
Their defense was atrocious. They're kicking the ball around the field. It was awful. Social media is gonna go nuts. We're gonna see all the Dolan's cheap memes, and you didn't do anything in the off season. The casual baseball watchers are going to ignore them until the Cavs are done and their playoff run. The radio guys are only going to talk about them on the home opener, the one day of the year that they talk about them. They're going to trash the team and trash the Dolans if they start off 2-5 before the home opener. And then the season's going to play out and all of that is going to happen and they're going to be in the playoffs. Like that's how it goes every year.
I couldn't agree more. It's going to be fun. Home opener is Friday, April 3rd against the Cubbies. It is going to be a fun one. I know that you're there. I know that you will be there with bells on at the corner of Carnegie and Ontario. You'll probably send me a photo of you hanging out with Rosie and Tom Hamilton in the booth.
Oh yeah,
on
I wish.
Day.
Oh man,
hey, I think if we message Rosie and say that we're coming, I wonder if they'd roll out the red carpet one game for us. I wonder.
There's no way they would let us up in there. There's no way. And
then
I don't
come down to us and we can get a picture with him and it would be great.
I don't blame him. But I just hope it's sunny because I'm in right field. I just hope that the sun is out. It's an afternoon game. It's at, like you said, it's 4:00 game. I'm excited. I'm excited for the season. I'm excited to see this development of these young hitters. And I think it will be a lot of fun. When I talked with the guys on Friday, I said, they may start slow. But it is rare. It's the only season I can remember where in like the last 10 years that we were like just completely over it by August was in 2023 when they were just falling off and in Tito's last season. But almost all the time, whether they make the playoffs or not, because remember in, 2019, there was still a very good team then. 2019, I think they won like 95 games and missed the playoffs or 94 games and missed the playoffs. That can happen because the Twins were really, really good that year. But it's very rare that like by August and September that they're not competing and they're trying and they're going for it. So I don't anticipate that to be the case this year. Barring injury, injury can throw that all off. If
for some reason everybody staying healthy.
If for some reason like Jose ends up with a 2-month IL run because of a wrist injury or something, like that's gonna probably put a huge damper on the season. If you lose a starter for an extended period of time, that's probably going to be it's going to be a tough season. Those things we can't predict. Nope. Like I had some people talk about like Paul Sewald and how bad he was. It's like, well, I can't predict the dude to have a shoulder injury that keeps him out for half the season. Like you don't. It's hard to say that somebody's going to fall off or or get injured. And why would you predict injury? Like, nobody wants to predict anybody getting injured.
No, nobody predicts injuries.
So,
and like, yeah, it's a thing. Yeah, I'm not doing that. I'm not putting any negative juju on any of our guys. I'm sorry, I'm not doing it.
Chase DeLauder
I'm not
playing
doing
120 games.
Well, Brian, as we start to wrap things up here, where can they find you and us?
I'm at WSW on Twitter, on X. We are MLB Guardcast. We are on Facebook. We are on Spotify. We are on Apple Podcasts. We are on YouTube. We're part of the Network 216. Come watch us. Come listen. Mike, how about yourself?
Find me on Facebook and Twitter at Mike Vorhies. Thank you again to the boys at Network 216. Join me Friday as I make a guest appearance on the Lake Erie Lounge with Brian and Fatty. I'm looking forward to it. Hopefully I can live up to the expectation that my co-host Bryan Shaw has set. He has made the standard. I hope I can live up to it. But again, thankful for the boys at Network 216. We've got a phenomenal group, and I am looking forward. The sky is the limit. Go Guards. Let's do this.
All right. Talk to you in a couple of weeks.